Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty. Rick. Remember that name?
Oh God, 100 years, Rick and Morty.
Remember Rick and Morty 100 years?
Well, they called back to it today.
Yeah. I mean, I gotta say, I enjoyed it. I'm sucking on a fucking stomach thing right now, by the way. So that'll go away in just a second if you notice my voice. What was I gonna say? But anyway, yeah, no, I enjoyed it. You know, I mean, David or Vex and I have talked about in off screen about there was an interview that Justin Roiland did about how they came out and admitted that the last couple seasons were like a mess, and they really felt like they got back to form here. And if the rest of them are as good as this, I mean, I thought this was, you know, compare this to like season 3's opener, where like they had a huge bit of lore to deal with, and they had to deal with it. And like season 3, you know, it felt like they rushed so much. Whereas this, I kind of liked it better. You know, like they didn't. I really thought they were just going to ignore the like what happened at the end of season 5. I thought they were just going to pick back up and they were just home. You know what I mean? But no, like not only are they not ignoring the fact that they were like in space, and they do a cool little Avengers joke where Iron Man's stuck in the ship. We also have they're not ignoring the fact that portal travel is like apparently fucked because, you know, evil Morty hacked all the portal guns and portal fluid or whatever. So that's interesting. And remind me, like they didn't solve that in this episode, right? Like that's still going to be
that's still a thing because they were jumping from the ship's database. It seemed like at the end of this because they had the fucking the sentient world at the end of it.
God, that was fucking terrifying.
And so basically they made an Avengers and a Justice League joke in the end here because Oa is the living planet. It's technically also a Green Lantern in Justice League. So they kind of made a joke at that too, which, you know, Warner Brothers property. Warner Brothers is kind of in the mud right now. So it's kind of like a little self-aware joke.
I really just there's a lot of good. I mean, the humor was on point this time. You know, I really enjoyed the you know, like it's like I don't have a helmet like that guy from the Avengers. So write this down. And he's like, hey, a couple seconds ago when you pretended you didn't know who Iron Man was, who was that for?
Right, and the jab at like Space Beth here, or you know, Space Pirate Beth, whatever you want to fucking call her.
Oh yeah, basically being Captain Marvel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I also really enjoyed what do they call him? Prime Rick, the one that like killed his wife.
Yeah, I believe that's what they're calling him.
We'll be hopping around and it'll be a mess, I'm sure. But I really enjoy that character a lot because, like, I'll be honest, the way his little fortress was so funny to me. He's like, he's got like, you know, at first I love how they do this because like he's got like a naked Rick in like a tube, and he's like, that might not even be me. That could be a clone of me. I don't know. You have to chase. Look at all these countdowns. One of them's real. I'm sure that got me so much. And at the end, in the after credits scene, I'm assuming you saw that, right?
Yep.
In the after credits scene where like he's pulling his pants back up, he's like, oh yeah, I was fucking with a guy. So it really was him. That was actually him, just like mooning real Rick. That was so funny to me.
Yeah, like they made so many self-referential and like movie references in this one because he basically pulled like a jigsaw here with this fucking this booby trap of a booby trap of a booby trap of a booby trap.
Oh yeah, and he blows up the monitor. He's like, oh yeah, I get it. I always shoot the first monitor too.
I off screen I've been very critical of the last couple seasons of Rick and Morty because they've really felt like really in the mud. They've felt like they haven't had any passion in them. To me anyway, like there's been 1 or 2 good episodes and then the rest of them are just kind of there to, you know, keep up the production order. And this one, if they can pull off a season full of this, I'll be less critical.
Well, that's what it's going to come down to me, right? It's like, you know, is it going to have the Doctor Who curse of having like 2 good episodes a season, and then the rest of them are whatever, like mid, or can it? And it's not like all of them have to be perfect, but like it's like some semblance of quality control, right? Like what I want to see from it is better lore carryover, right? So have you seen Gravity Falls, Vex?
I did long ago. I am due for a rewatch of that show.
I would love to rewatch that with you, Vex. I would even be willing to do like a video, like a video re-review, like what we're gonna do with Marvel.
Yeah.
But what I'll say is, I'm so burnt out on Marvel now. I literally can't. I need to take a big long break.
Well, I mean, you just binged all of it with your girlfriend too.
That's true. And then She-Hulk started to twerk, and I couldn't take it anymore physically.
The clapping of her ass cheeks.
I wish, yeah, I saw people like that was the scene that ruined Marvel for me. Not because she twerked, but because the windows didn't break when her ass cheeks clapped.
And then the meme that I fucking found of like, do you think her squirt's radioactive?
Ew, ew, ew.
Well, I mean, technically, like,
The
there's
fact
like,
that, yeah, I mean, did you watch any of those episodes? I watched episode 1 of that. The
I
fact that, like,
watched
just
episode 1, yeah, and technically it would be at this point, you know?
well, at first, because just a little bit of blood from Bruce gets into her, and like she's becomes hulkish, and I was like, wow, that is really just like that's all it takes. But then it was like, no, it's because you're related to me, I guess, kind of, because otherwise, like, he cuts himself in like a swimming pool, like everyone's turning into baby Hulks.
Right, like, but like, there's a timeline where technically, Spidey killed Mary Jane by coming inside of her.
Dude, I need to read that one. Just absolutely, literally blows her back out.
It's called Spider-Man Reign, if I remember right. It's very, very critically panned because it's so stupid.
I'm
But
gonna need me like a compilation of like I just need a bunch of different hentai and porn comics where like the someone's so super powered that they're like almost kill them by fucking them. If you want a good one of those, have you ever seen that the Broly hentai? You know the one I'm talking about.
Oh,
if you know,
you sent
dude,
that in the group chat years ago.
it's so good. Yeah, I don't. Well, so he's fucking that green alien from Super or the movie or whatever. You know the one I'm talking about?
Oh God.
The green woman. Do you know what I'm talking about? Oh,
No.
it's phenomenal.
There's a different one. You sent me a Broly Kale one or Kelfla or one of the fucking.
Yeah, that's not the one I'm thinking of. This one's done by Shindal. You know the artist Shindal.
Yep.
Phenomenal. Yeah. It's so good because like Broly, his dick is like literally like the size of like her leg, basically. And she is like, but she's like super into. She's like really, really horny and like just in desperate need of a fucking. So it's one of those like this will probably kill me, but I want it, and I love shit like that. So she's like getting plowed and she's like vomiting and like she's like I'm gonna die. This is gonna kill me, but it's okay because I get to feel this good. It's like prolapsing her and shit.
Jesus Christ. Thankfully, we're 7 minutes into the review. YouTube won't care.
Welcome to Controlled Chaos.
You just got indoctrinated into the insanity if you're just tuning in.
I hope you and since you and Thurman have essentially taken over this channel, I hope you and Thurman have conversations like this.
Oh God, yes.
Okay, good, because that's our brand, man. You got to keep our brand alive.
Oh fucking hell! But no, like.
But back to Rick and Morty, hopefully.
What really fascinates me about this season, this opener here, is we've started wrapping up plot, right? And we revisit season 2, Jerry.
Yeah, we get fucking Cronenberg world. That what a cool concept. Like, oh shit, we're returning to our original universes because I accidentally reset us rather than the Foro fluid. So we get really cool shit like and Rick's original universe. I guess we'll talk about that. We'll start with Cronenberg and then we'll get to Rick's original universe. Go ahead.
So like Cronenberg world, I definitely want to cycle back to that end scene at some point too. But like Cronenberg world is just essentially The Last of Us at this point. Like it's overgrown
with the clickers and shit.
Yeah, like, and I find that fascinating that we kind of get a universe like that. But it makes sense because if everybody's turned into a Cronenberg or a clicker, like naturally, they're no longer human. The fucking world is going to be taken back over by nature. It's going to be vibrant. It's going to be like this overgrown wasteland, basically. And you see Jerry here basically prefabbing weapons and kind of just surviving off the land. And Beth is dead. Summer's dead.
It's cool how many times we go back to this area because obviously season 1, it's a season 1 episode originally, and I don't know if you remember because the whole time I was watching this apocalypse, like apocalyptic land play out, I'm like, don't forget that this exists because Morty wanted to smash. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you remember that, right? Like it was literally like, oh, I'll make a love potion. So I don't even remember what the name of his crush is because she got like a Kira, so I don't remember what happened after that.
Fucking shit. Or
not a Kira. What did happen to her? It was like. Oh no, yeah, because she went through that fucked up like thing where like her mind's eye was open and she was like hella smart and she's like, I'm different now.
Yeah, like she basically just got fucking spiritually awakened. Fucking
what the fuck was her name? How am I forgetting this stupid character's name?
I'll look it up while you talk.
Yeah, just look up Morty's crush. It'll come right up. She's one of those like super basic bitches. That's why
Jessica.
I like it.
Jessica.
Oh, of course, yeah. She would be a Jessica.
Typical Jessica behavior.
Vex, you've had 27 exes. Have you dated a Jessica?
I did.
And how was she?
Actually, she wasn't bad. Like,
that's good. Breaking the mold.
yeah, like she
Dude,
went on to
Vex,
be a vet
can
tech.
we do a tier list of your exes?
I'd have to get legal permission for that. I think it's a dark reality. I don't think I can get that from a corpse for some of them.
The Vex X tier list. Vex X. Wow, that works. Anyway, so anyway,
Can the dead consent to content?
Fuck those people. I don't give a shit. Free speech, baby. Let's go. All right, moving on.
But no, like
real quick though, I did have a point to finish, I promise. So the fact that like we see this particular reality like many times over, like it's kind of cool. We saw it in season 1, of course, when it originally happened, and that was of course which led into their original reality swap or hopping. Of like burying themselves, and then in season 3, I'm assuming you remember because they reference it in this, when Rick was trapped in space prison and taking down the Citadel and shit. They went there originally because they needed to get I think it was because they had to get another portal gun, right?
Because they're like, portal gun, yeah.
Because the original portal gun would have been buried with Rick, yada yada. And then of course they freeze ray them, and that's why Summer and Beth are dead. So what's crazy about this is like Jerry, not only is he like an uber badass in this reality, but he's totally right. Like to fuck over Morty, like he's like, fuck you? Are you kidding me, Morty? Like, and Jerry doesn't even know why they got Cronenberg. He doesn't even know that it was just for some stupid ass reason, like love potion, right? But like even without that knowledge, he's like, you guys left us for dead. You guys fucked up our world, and then you came back and killed my wife and daughter. Fuck you. Like genuinely, like Jerry was right, and he has that cool moment where he's like, my life is better than it's ever been because Rick was right. I needed to let go. And like Jerry's one of those people that like he has it within him to be a better person, but he needs to like kind of get ripped off of the teat or like thrown out of the bird's nest. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, and so he's right. Jerry has this interesting moment where he's like, you know what? Yeah, I mean, this sucks, but like I guess this is what I deserved, and I guess this is what I needed to become a better person. So it's a really cool little moment there.
And like I love that he's able to stand up to this Morty, because technically this Morty
is his original Morty, right?
Is his original Morty, and he's been in his own right just as abusive to him as Rick has. Not just in the fucking over the planet just to get some pussy, because that's what it all boils down to. But, the more he's hung out with that Rick, like C-137, he fucked over this Jerry constantly.
Oh, yeah.
Talked back to him, was emotionally and physically abusive to him in his own right. And now he's finally, like, having been stuck in this reality of nothingness for so long, he's had a chance to grow as a person and be able to be like, you know what, fuck it, I don't care anymore. You are no longer my child. You've been gone for so goddamn long, and I've been stuck here surviving because you just threw us to the wild.
Yeah, and Morty thinks he can come back and just be like, hey, I'm sorry. Because Morty, he's super, like, he's becoming super self-important, just like Rick, right? Where, like, he shows up and he's like, he starts apologizing. Like, yeah, sorry about that. He was, we needed this, that, the other thing. And then when Jerry's pissed, he's like, I was saying sorry. And it's like, what are you talking about, dude? Look at the state you've left this world in.
And again, just for pussy. That's what's the most fucked up part about this. He did this just to try and score. And like...
of course, the equal blame on Rick, too, because Rick fucked up the potion. But, like, for Morty to ask for that, too, is like, oh my God.
Yeah, like, that's what's so wild to me. Like, we've been back to this reality the most. But we also have, like, 4 or 5 other realities that we went to in this. Just... to try and fix up another fuck up. We saw the original Rick's world here.
Yeah, that was cool. So I have some stuff to say about that. So I love it when they get fucked up like this, and I love that like this world. It almost like, because I was immediately suspicious like when he shows up and it's like still like perfectly intact, like the explosion mark. You know what I mean? Like everything, like where, like how his wife died or how his wife and daughter died, it's just there. And then his wife's talking to him, and I'm like, what's going on here? And then we come to find out that he's treating this world almost like a both a a crime scene that he's trying to leave completely untouched, and also like a therapy place that he probably told himself he'd come back to but never will, right? Because he's got this disembodied voice of his wife programmed to constantly. It reminds me of in Hunter x Hunter, Kurapika has this line where he says, I don't fear death. I only fear that my rage will subside over time. Right. So it's like, to me, Rick programs this like haunting voice of his dead wife, constantly reminding him what happened, so that because probably in his rage as a youth, when that shit happened, he was like, I never, ever, I don't care if this shit might take hundreds of years, but I will never lose my rage at what happened here, and I will remind myself constantly. So he's not allowed this like reality to move forward in time, period. He's like kept it perfectly in stasis at the time of that happening, and he's also got this like voice constantly. And I love the idea of like, I can never physically touch you, you're always just a voice a room away. That's haunting. That's creepy shit. And then you see the neighbors come in, and they're like, they still have the souls of like as young as they were. So this guy's got the soul of like a 25-year-old probably, but his body is like physically old. Can you imagine like the weird dissonance and like how that would make you feel? You have a woman walking a skeleton of a dog. You know what I mean? It's fucking horrific. And Rick not only, like, I guess he fixes it by letting them just finally embrace the sweet release of death, but like, my God, it's just, I love this, the moral fuckery of Rick and Morty. I love it so much.
Yeah, like, just to kind of expand on that, like, he's literally, like, created himself a torture room,
to torture himself.
Right, like,
yeah.
But he, in his rage in his youth, he didn't realize, like, I'm not just doing this to me, I'm doing this to every civilian in this, probably the entire world, knowing Rick and how fucked he can
I'm
be.
sure it's the entire planet. I'm sure he's like put the entire planet on like time lock stasis. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have these people eternally aging, but their mind stays in that state. So think of a baby just being born, just like being shot out of the birth canal. It's literally the mind of an infant, but it's looking like a goddamn preserved mummy.
Ugh. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of horrific shit here, and I like how like the Rick where we're at now, he's evolved a little bit, like mentally and like morally. So like you can tell he kind of feels bad a little bit, enough to like let them finally just die. But at the same time, there's no moment of like, shit, this is fucked up. Shit, I'm sorry. He's just like, well, okay.
Pull the lever.
Yeah, he looks at it almost like some cringe shit he did when he was a kid. Like, okay, well, fuck.
2010 me. Bad, 2021
God.
me, 2022 me, whenever this was actually animated, fine,
I imagine even longer ago than that. I mean, it looked like his wife probably died when he was in his like upper 20s, maybe late or early 30s, like in that kind of, like it looked like they had like recently moved in, that kind of range. Like, you have a kid, they're like 5, that kind of age.
Yeah, but the one thing that really got me here is the citizens of this planet were self-aware enough to be writing notes.
Yeah, I know. So like, I imagine that they have like moments where they're like full consciousness comes out and they're like trying to warn themselves, like, please just escape, kill yourself.
So I know this is a fucking stupid reference, but I've become addicted to Fortnite, and I was to get some skins, you had to read these comics. So I'm like, well, I have a DC Universe app subscription because I read like Batman and shit on there, so I'll read them on there. And in that reality, Batman and Catwoman get sucked into Fortnite, but every 21 minutes the game resets, the reality resets. But over time, he would leave notes for himself, like, okay, this person is an ally, this person I can trust, this person here is trying
Jump
to kill
off the
me.
battle bus at this time.
Right, Tilda Towers is under attack constantly. I don't know what the hell's going on over there.
I don't even have the right to make jokes. I know nothing about Fortnite. For all I know, it could be fun as fuck.
It is, with a group of people. Doing it solo, not so much.
Apex? Allie really likes Apex.
But, like, anyway, so...
Right. Did you hear my question?
It's different. I'll get to that off camera. But every 20 minutes, the reality resets. But slowly over time, he's able to, like, create little bits of memories of pockets of it to where he can slowly free people from this 0 point. I kind of feel like that's the same way they are here. Like every so often they would blip back into that reality and like, okay, I am actually like a 95-year-old man.
Oh yeah, Rick and Morty is constantly dropping whole ass concepts that could be like entire episodes, but like dealing with them in 5 minutes. It's very impressive.
So like for this dude to be like, I have a whole trash bag full of these notes. I wonder
Yeah.
how long he's been writing a note to himself here. I would love to
his whole
explore
ass
that.
life, probably like, I mean, I'm getting like 50 to 60 years vibes here. Oh, I mean, Rick's what? How old is Rick? We know that for sure. I know that's confirmed. You want to Google that?
Yeah, I'm Googling that right now. Rick H. Rick and Morty. He is 70 years old.
Yeah, so I'm going to guess if this happened around the time he was like 35. I mean, 45, 55, 65.
Yeah,
70.
that would
We're talking like 40 years.
So, like, probably 40 years worth of notes where this dude's just blipping into his own consciousness, basically. and like, enough time to ask for the sweet release of death, but not be able to grant it to himself. I wonder... We're 20 minutes in, YouTube won't care. I wonder how many of these people have actually found a way to off themselves.
You just say Roblox themselves.
Yeah, I feel like oof and stuff like that just picked up by the bot at this point.
Who cares?
Yeah, but anyway, I wonder how many people
the
actually...
shit we talk about, Vex, no one cares.
Yeah, true. But, and also it's Rick and Morty, who the fuck cares anyway?
Exactly.
But like, I wonder how many people just, said, fuck it, I want to die, and just killed themselves.
So, I mean, it would depend on, we'd have to know more about how this technology works. You could headcanon, like, maybe, like, every time there was, like, like, like how solar flares can, like, fuck with, like, electronics and shit?
Yeah.
Maybe, like, every time there was, because, Rick just left, so he left this shit, whatever he did, he left it on autopilot, right? So no one there to, like, make adjustments or corrections. So maybe, like, every time there was a solar flare, they got, like, a momentary, like, minute or two of freedom, mental freedom for them to freak out, be like, what's going on? You know what I mean? And then right back to it, like, something like that.
Yeah, or, maybe the AI consciousness of his dead wife is the fucking autopilot for this world, so she controls it like a Howl version of herself there. Like, you are not allowed to die.
Oh, yeah, what the fuck? I'm trying to find a synopsis of this episode so I can see if I'm forgetting any details here. But yeah,
we had Space Beth, regular Beth, and Summer fighting.
I'll be honest, the Beths and the Summers of this show do not interest me much as characters. I've always been a Rick and Morty guy.
I find this fascinating that we're still seeing some competition, and then she's just like, I'm 17. I do not care. My love for you is fleeting at this point.
Yeah, that ship has sailed. I actually, there was a line from Beth I really liked where, because Space Beth, she's kind of like Mom Beth is kind of right that Space Beth is incredibly, I don't know, like selfish to like just be like, yeah, fuck this, I don't want to raise kids, I want to, and like I agree with you, but then don't fucking have them. You know what I mean?
Like you were the one that was controlling this. You literally wore the pants in this relationship. Jerry is such a subby-wubby bitch boy.
I want to have kids.
Like, you feel me, right? He is a subby-wubby bitch boy.
Oh yeah, for sure. And to clarify, I'm a very pro-abortion. So like, this isn't one of those like, huh, well, you had them, so take responsibility. I'm also very anti-kid and anti-being a parent. So what I'm saying is, should have aborted these motherfuckers. All right. Clearly, the universe would have been better off.
Like, quite literally. Look at the damage fucking Morty and Summer have made at this point.
Oh, because Morty and Summer are full-blown psychopaths now. I mean, look at Summer. They even say, like, so Rick fucking dragged you into the family business, huh? You know what I mean?
Right, and they're very self-aware, and I love that we're getting that. Like, fucking Space Bath really hit the nail on the head.
Oh, I forgot to say the line. There is a line that I really liked from Mom Beth, where she's like, "Bitch, I'm you with the patience to do laundry." I was like, that's actually pretty good. It's a good line.
It was like she the clone here is right, and Space Beth is right in this episode, which is the great moral dilemma of this, because obviously, like, she has the right to her own freedom, but at the same time, like, you've created your own prison. So you had your fucking father, who's a psychopath, create a clone to raise your fucking kids.
That's real
Like
fun.
you have no right to judge the clone here. You had this reality created for you, you selfish bitch.
Yeah, that's how I felt during this episode too. I was like, this is kind of. Hold on a second. Actually, I was double checking because I wanted to make sure. Was it ever confirmed which one was the clone, which one was the original? Because I'm actually when I type in clone Beth, it brings me to Space Beth on the Rick and Morty. So she actually might be the clone.
Either way.
Yeah, either way, it's weird. I will say, I brought up the episode so I could like remember everything. So I wanted to bring up the joke where they're like, "Hold on, our bodies might not be able to handle solid food," and he gets it all like gooped for Morty, and Morty's eating the goop, and he's like, "I think I'll take my chances." That was a good joke.
Yeah, and then he had the fucking robot eat heirloom tomatoes.
It's like, oh god, this is so good. Yeah.
Right,
What else
like,
we got here? Just kind of scrolling through. You got anything else while I'm scrolling?
I want to. How many times have we buried our main characters?
I think actually, I think this is only the second time because we had the initial one.
I
And
think
then
it's
we had the
3.
one.
I think there was one in season 3.
You're thinking of when they dug them up, I think, because they went there to dig them back up.
That could be.
Yeah. But this is what made this special is that it's the first time that the other ones have done it. Like it had only been 40 before, but now it's like, yeah. But basically, I mean, that's what they have to do every time they dimension hop. And the fact that they were able to do that using the rift and without having to use a portal was very impressive. Let's see here. Anything else we got? I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Sorry about the. Oh yeah, I really do like this. This whole scene with fucking Rick Prime was so funny to me. I was just such a troll. I love that. He's like, he's got like this fucking mouse trap like sequence set up. He's like, oh, you want to follow me? Could be a trap, maybe not. I don't know.
Oh god, yeah.
There was a really good joke where Rick was like, yeah, this guy's a weirdo. He loves building super elaborate shit, but then he like hides it. So it's like playing Minecraft on a private server.
Oh.
I love that Rick is canonically a Minecraft fan now. Remember season 3 where he's playing it?
Yeah, God, it's wild. Like they went for every in joke here, and
It's
I
pretty
love
good. They really rewarded longtime fans because there's a lot of, and that's actually what I was gonna say. Like if Rick and Morty can continue this, because I brought up Gravity Falls earlier because Gravity Falls is, I think, the perfect example of having a show that is an Adventure of the Week show, but that never forgets previous episodes. They're constantly referencing things they did earlier. They're constantly things they did earlier play into the things they're doing now. Like it never feels like it's a full reset. Even though they're able to do Adventure of the Week, it always feels like the shit that happened earlier matters. That's what I want from Rick and Morty. I want it to feel like shit matters and it's not just a full reset every time. And this first episode is promising in that regard. And I hope that they can
because
continue
the
that.
first 3 seasons, like you felt the weight of every previous adventure, every episode. You know.
Yeah, and then 4 and 5 literally felt like filler, like dead ass.
Yeah, and I think they serve their purpose here because you're still referencing those points in this, but at the same time, like,
sorry, go ahead.
But like at the same time, like those 2 seasons really cost them a lot of fans. I feel because you had cringe like the Gladiator episode. You had shit like the giant fetus baby episode that you weren't a fan of, but I kind of thought was stupid funny. But like at the same time, like if you dropped off here, you're still. I feel like they're going to make all of that matter in some regard.
So I think with season 4 and 5, there were episodes that mattered, right? Like there was the we're taking down Phoenix Person and Tammy episode. There was the episode where we saw like the battle at Blood Ridge, I think is what they called it.
There was
the episode
where you had like all the different like Mortys and Ricks and Jerrys and Summers and all that.
Well, that was the one where
right, that was the one where like it was like backstory for Bird Person.
Yeah,
and
his big battle with Bird Person,
Yep.
and then we found out that Bird Person and Tammy had like a real child, right? Wasn't that like a plot point?
I believe
Like a child out there.
I believe it was.
And then so there's things that were set up that were important there, but I'm saying like there was also like weird fucking like in between episode, like more like the turkey episode with the president and the fucking sperm episode and the incest baby, and it just got to like such. I don't know. It was just gross. It felt like a C tier Simpsons episode sometimes.
No. Well, I
C tier South Park maybe. movie.
C tier South Park, yeah. I don't think we've reached like Lady Gaga Simpson episode levels yet.
That's true. But I don't know. It's just, I guess it's just like, because obviously, what's the word I'm looking for here? It's a consistency problem. Like I need to feel like these characters are the same characters from week to week, and like they need to have some more oversight, because like from some of those season 4 and 5 type stuff, like Rick and Morty felt like different characters based on what episode it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you definitely had episodes like that. I feel like we're starting to see it back to form, but I felt like that at the beginning of season 5 too.
Yeah, because was that the one that started off with him like getting the wine bottle, like, and then
Yep.
like yeah. So they always start off with a strong one. So that's why we're gonna see, because apparently this next one looks like a summer focused, and she's dieharding or something. Did you watch the preview?
I did not.
Yeah, so it's summer, and she's
Remember,
like,
I went to like less than legal website.
it is literally free on Adult Swim.
Yeah, I know. You told me that after I watched it, so I'm like,
now I'm telling the audience. Yeah, like it looks like they're. I hope they do this for all of them, but like at least the first episode, it's up here for free until October 30th.
Yeah, I hope they do that, because, well, I'll have my YouTube TV subscription.
To me, that seems like a good way to make, because they know no one has cable anymore, so just fucking front load it with a fuck ton of ads, make your money from that way, and then let people watch it on your website.
Yep. Yeah. I feel like that'll be a thing moving forward for them. Considering like HBO Max is shooting itself in the cock every 5 seconds.
I hope you fucking learn. Speaking of that, have you seen Infinity Train, by the way? Because I did watch through that.
Yeah, I started book 3 because of that Google Drive link. So,
had you seen 1 and 2 before?
I had watched 1 and 2 when I was on.
3 is one of the best ones. It's all about like cults and like how cults form and shit. It's so good.
I really love shit like that. So when I heard the premise for 3, I'm like, I need to watch this. And I had it in my fucking HBO Max queue for like 6 months, and then I'm like, oh, it's gone. Lovely. And I found that Google Drive link. I've retweeted a bunch of those links too.
Oh yeah, they got all of Uncle Grandpa too, that show's fucking hilarious. If you like little random humor.
Yeah, it's that early Smosh YouTube humor, and I love that shit. So
as a kid, I had a soft spot for it. Yeah. But yeah, overall, very strong opening. They really went hard on the lore. I love when Rick and Morty goes hard on lore, I really enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess. Also, I'm not one last joke that I loved, and I'm sure you and I can really relate to this. It's where he's like, "What, stop fucking sucking him off." When talking about Evil Morty, like, I guess that was part of Evil Morty's plan. Stop sucking him off. All he did was fucking monologue and bail. What did he say? Or brag about how he's quitting Twitter, and then Morty was like, "No one quits Twitter."
Oh, too real.
That's such a good call out too, because so many people will do that. Like, I'm leaving Twitter, social media, never coming back, and then they're back a week later.
Yeah, like I take breaks from social media all the time, because
but at least you're not saying every time, "I'll never be back."
No, like I left my original Facebook account as like just a memory bank, because I never want to wipe that part completely, But at the same time, like, I don't use it. I'm just like, oh, this is like this point in history for the channel, or this point in history. I feel like that's a necessary part of growth, like, to kind of memorialize what you did. But at the same time, I look back, I'm like, oh, God, delete this. I look like I weighed 450 pounds here with the lighting in this photo.
Oh God, yeah, those old pictures too. It's like not even just the weight, but like your skin looks like it's like oily as fuck.
Yep. God.
Classic neck beard.
Yep. Top of the morning, my ladies.
Well, anything else to talk about here? I'm curious.
I think what we need from this season, and I think you'll agree with me here a little bit, Red, is we need to wrap up some of that early plot. Bad.
We wrapped up.
We wrapped up the Citadel.
Yeah.
I don't think Evil Morty's dead.
No. Well, because I remember that Evil Morty, I really do think that his goal was to just escape the collection of universes that basically all these people were trapped in to fuel Rick's ego. Because remember, Rick, just to remind everybody, Rick found I think it was the Citadel altogether. They found like every universe where Rick is the smartest guy and like walled off that and then said that's the whole universe so that Rick felt like the smartest guy in the entire multiverse, right?
Yep.
But like so now Evil Morty has like escaped to, the whole actual universe where he can exist in places where Rick isn't like a god, basically. So I feel like Evil Morty, he's not going to actively chase after them anymore. I feel like he's accomplished his goal. He just wants to live a peaceful life. You know what I mean? Could they interact with him? Could they run into him in the future? Possibly. But I feel like he's not going to be actively like.
He's not going to be the active threat anymore.
Yeah.
I think
that's what Prime Rick is for.
Yeah, Prime Rick is going to be the new big bad here.
One last question to bring up to you as well, just to add to this conversation. Did you watch the behind the scenes on their YouTube? You know how they always do like a quick little 3-minute behind the scenes.
I did not yet. No.
They basically said like the resetting of like Prime Rick was a guy who was like in like massive crazy hiding, like off like somewhere in the deepest corners of the multiverse, and this reset that Rick did brought him back to the forefront. So like that's kind of like not now the reason why he's going to be like actively hunting, like actually like kind of actively a presence, because he got ripped out of his hiding spot by Rick inadvertently.
That's a cool way to bring him into the forefront here. I think what we're going to do is have him as the main enemy, but we still have like I don't know if you watched the little shorts that they did of the stupid B tier heroes.
I don't care about the stupid Avengers or whatever the fuck they're called.
Yeah, I hadn't watched them yet, so I didn't know if there was anything in there.
But I can't imagine anything important canon is going to be snuck in there.
I think the Warmageddon stuff that they're doing, the ARG that they're doing, might be a play on the future. Because there's little clips, animated clips that go along with that ARG, and they seem to be highly produced. The reason I don't think the stupid discount Avengers is going to be a big thing is because Dan Harmon said that was one of his least favorite episodes.
Yeah, I know.
I thought it was weird that
Adult Swim came in and they were like, "This looks like something we could make money off of."
I find it funny that they sank production value into that at all, and they're all like,
I have to assume that's an Adult Swim decision. Like, oh hey, just give us like your fucking E-team to make this bullshit. All right.
Yeah, and to kind of drum up like clicks and shit. But I don't think there'll be anything there. But we still have like the fucking the hunters going for Rick too, because he's still technically wanted. That we need to wrap up.
Which hunters? Remind me.
The people that hired Tammy. We still have that going on.
Oh yeah, I certainly hope that like there's like the remnants of the galactic like government. Like I don't want them to be completely taken out. Because I always thought that was an interesting threat. So I hope that there's like like the I don't know, the leftover like crumbles of what's destroyed, like try to like regroup into like some sort of faction. I enjoy that.
And we still have the fact that Rick has fucked over half the galaxy at this point.
Oh yeah, and that's a good point. And keep in mind too that I know they wanted to do a big reset and make it so that Rick wasn't like as all powerful and like omniscient anymore. So like getting rid of his like portal ability could be a really interesting like restriction for him. You know what I mean? This season. And like if at some point, everyone gets out of the finite curve and Rick is no longer the smartest in the galaxy, and that opens up to ourselves to the actual infinity of the multiverse with plenty of, and infinity means anything, so that would mean that there'd be plenty of characters that could be as smart or smarter than Rick. That would be a genuine challenge to him. So I mean, I'm hoping that that's the way they're trying to bring back like stakes to the series, potentially.
Yeah, because at this point, like we know Rick is basically a fucking god with the portal gun and all of his advanced tech, because he basically has the ability to just somebody touch him and they fucking die. You know? So
I'm Doctor Who with this motherfucker.
With that kind of nerfed to some degree, like we have stakes again, which means we'll have a actual like threat. And Prime Rick being like having had all of this time outside of the cosmos where he can actually stool and just kind of fester and make all sorts of insane fucking gadgets.
Yeah, I mean,
And
what
then an
better?
OP Jerry with primal arc style weapons, you know, like it's
Well,
going to
he's
be.
dead now, right? Like,
Who knows?
I don't know, man. You don't remember that after credit scene? Like Prime Rick shot the shit out of him.
But this is also Rick and Morty. He could fucking turn him into a lich for all we know.
Yeah, maybe he'll be like, maybe he'll bring him back and he'll be like, he'll work for Prime Rick. That'd be cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like you saw that he was trying to slit his throat.
He
That's
split
why.
his throat and he was super impressed. He was like, God damn.
But then he's just like, grows his throat back as he should be, you know.
Yeah, Prime Rick, I think, is going to be a nice, like a really good foil for our Rick. Like, you know, what better of a challenge to Rick than another Rick?
Yeah,
that's like as Ricky as him.
Well, we originally thought this was the Rickest Rick of them all, but we were wrong.
Oh man, it's gonna be interesting. The fact the reveal that that's Morty's actual Rick was crazy.
Right, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I mean, and now we know why he specifically chose that specific universe to hunker down in. He's like, one day that motherfucker will come back, and I'll be here for him.
Right,
but he never did.
So now we have our setup. It's just, can we execute it, and can we execute it well? That's where I'm at. Like, I want it to be good. I want them to make me care about Rick and Morty again, because the last 2 seasons I've been very fucking critical of it. So I'm hoping this is a good season. We have our payoff so far.
Yeah,
episode 2 we'll probably shit on because it's a summer episode.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, she can be interesting. I want to just take her character somewhere. I want to see her character evolving in a way that's interesting. You know what I mean?
And so far they haven't done that. Like, other than a few moments.
Yeah, and I think it does become an issue that, like, and people have talked about this in the review, in like other reviews, the fact that like the whole family is now numb to all this insane bullshit, which makes sense. Of course they would be, but that's a problem for interesting story writing. If everyone is numb to the insane, you have to have, that's why Usopp exists in One Piece. You have to have someone that reacts to things in like a scared way. You know what I mean? And if not scared, wonder, amazement. I mean, look at Summer. She's literally like, if they shoot at us, I can kill them. Like, she's just waiting for the opportunity to murder. And she's literally doing the like, oh, they shot first, you saw it, starts murdering. Like, they're all fucking psychopaths, and I want to see like actual consequences for that.
Yeah, because we had an interesting moment with like the therapy episode way back when.
That was it. Yeah, I agree.
And I think they all need to spot a therapy again, but we know Rick is adverse to ever dealing with that. You know, he turned himself into a fucking pickle to avoid it.
That therapist made him really think real hard about himself, and he does not like to do that.
So when we get to shit like that, we need a moment where like they can think about the consequences of their actions. Because we've seen that Morty, at least initially during the Purge episode, he can have sympathy.
See, that was kind of early. Like, season 1 and 2, Morty and Summer were a lot more human. You know what I mean? Like, they were able to have that, like, sympathy and shit. But ever since, like, I'll be honest, ever since 3 and beyond, it's felt like they've been, like, just mini versions of Rick.
And you see that Rick is more human than our main characters at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's seen what he's doing to his family, but he can't stop. He doesn't know how to stop. Because he's on this quest.
For a while, I've hoped that the kind of plot direction it was going to take was going to be that Rick becomes more like Morty, and Morty becomes more like Rick, and we eventually come to a head where, like, Morty wants to do some fucked up shit, and Rick is actually like, whoa, and then Morty's like, excuse me? You're the one that fucking taught me all this shit. And I'd love to see
we kind of got a little bit of that there, during the Prime Rick saw death trap shit,
That's true, yeah. And and like that's what kind of why I'm sad they kind of wasted the end of season 5 where they do that like whole like we're splitting up, we're a danger to each other, and then that was just like it didn't go anywhere. It was like immediately to the weird Crow thing, the Crow anime parody thing. So yeah, I mean, hopefully they're able to. Basically it all comes down to I just want them to be able to do a plot line that lasts more than one fucking episode. You know what I mean? Like I would like to see some, like some anime style storytelling from this. And what I mean by that is like not like cartoon style, like
no moe eyes, no bullshit stretchy arms, no.
Yeah, let me clarify. Not like Avatar, or not like more like Avatar: Last Airbender type shit, like the type where like every episode is telling a continued story. I just the Adventure of the Week, it's fine, but it gets old. I want to see a continued story being told. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like you can go back to Adventure of the Week every once in a while, but I wouldn't mind like a season where it's like all one story being told.
And it's funny because Dan Harmon at least can tell a continuous story.
Yeah, well, I imagine it comes down to like they're trying to make this show as and you know it is an issue because they are trying to make this show as infinite as possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what the shareholders want, I'm sure, you know, and that's what Adult Swim wants, and I get that. And so they're probably trying to balance, you know, like, well, they want us to be able to make infinite amount of these, but we also want to enjoy ourselves when we make it. So how do we do that, you know?
Exactly, and that's the danger that you get into because I think you saw the tweet I made. But in that interview, they said they want it to be like an infinite universe. Like they want it to be like a show that goes on forever. And I retweeted it. I'm like, wasn't one of the initial plot lines that we don't want this to go on forever? We don't want it to become The Simpsons. We don't want it to become Family Guy or American Dad or something like that. They made it referential to the fact that they would go on for 10 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know how literally they meant that, but like, yeah, I'm sure, you know, no one start making a show with the idea that it's going to go forever. But like, when it becomes, you know, they didn't. I've seen interviews from Justin where asked about like, you know, like how your reaction to it becoming so popular. I mean, like, none of them expected it to get as popular as it did. You know, that really caught them off guard. And when you have no doubt legions of people offering you giant unlimited suitcases of money. I mean, you know, that's
you go from Grandpa Mudo to Kaiba there. You know, it's unfortunate.
Yeah. I mean, I ain't gonna diss. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, if you made something that was super successful and you were getting like, I'm gonna guess, tens of millions of dollars a year for it, you know, I mean,
Yeah, they can sit on their ass and not have to do anything else, but they all very much do other things. Dan Harmon has his own other projects. Justin
yeah, I
Roiland
think
has
that
his own.
tends to be what happens, right? Like your main thing gets popular, and then like you know, like this is a human nature thing. You think, okay, well, I did that for a while. Now I want to try some new shit.
I can make a fucking video game where there's a talking gun.
So you let your popular thing go for a while, you know, and you just let that kind of run on autopilot. Well, you use the money from that to go and just try other shit, kind of risk free, because you don't got to worry about it, you know, succeeding. And then you're like, oh shit, it's getting bad. Let me go back and like, you know, get the credibility back on this thing. That happened with SpongeBob. You remember? The guy who made SpongeBob left it for a while. It was shitty, and then he came back. Unfortunately, he died a couple years back. But like I had heard that like when he came back, it got good again for a couple seasons. So
it
like
did
I
for a couple, and then once he died,
yeah.
And when he died, it died, kind of thing.
Yeah, so you know, it does come down to I think.
And now they're just literally milking the fucking name.
Yeah, unfortunately, and I think it really is just like, you know, I think they're trying to do, you know, they want to do new things, but they also want to. They're also probably like, shit, I don't want this thing to crash and burn, but like this thing existing is giving us the money in order to do the things that we want to do in life. It reminds me of Game Grumps, right? Like Game Grumps is like, it's obvious that they don't like doing it, but that they do it to fuel their other interests, right? So like, you know, they both like making music. They both like, Aaron's making his own card game, I think, and like video games. Some of them are making different video games, and like, oh, we're gonna go out and like paint. You know, they're living their best life, trying all these different hobbies, but they have to have Game Grumps as that like core thing that like
it's
gives
the same
them
with
money
like Achievement Hunter and Rooster Teeth. Like they enjoy doing other things, but at the end of the day, like sitting there in front of a camera and playing fucking GTA or Minecraft is their bread and butter for a lot of their shit. And you know, it's
so the only surefire way to keep things going well, I think, is because, you know, inevitably, like, no one can work on the same thing forever. So I think
unless you're Seth MacFarlane.
Yeah, the only way to keep it going is to like pass it on to a team that you like trust and like that you've curated and you know they're going to do well, and then they pass it on to another team that's that good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I don't even think Seth MacFarlane touches Family Guy at this point.
Oh no, he does. All he does is voice the characters. And
Yeah. I think the only one of those shows that he still has a hand in is American Dad. And that's why it's still good. To a degree.
Exactly.
And then he does like the Orville and music and yada yada yada. But
that's kind of why I was hopeful seeing that interview, because, you know, it sounded like to me that Justin Roiland had kind of recaptured a bit of the passion for making it again, because that's the most important thing. You know what I mean?
Well, I
And
think
like
when he was doing like High on Life and Trover Saves the Universe, he kind of got back into that joke groove and was able to kind of be like, oh, right, this was what made Morty funny, you
yeah,
know?
this is probably what made him enjoy doing it. Yeah, and like now he has. I think that's the most important thing to me is that they have fun doing it. You know, even if they're making it infinitely year after year, as long as they're enjoying doing it. You know, so like maybe season 4 and 5 was like the break they needed, and now it'll be good again. That's my hope because it sounded like he was excited about it again for the first time in a while. Like in interviews, it's like, yeah, I'm actually super pumped for people to see this season in particular.
So
You know.
we'll see as we go on. But as we approach 50 minutes, I think we should wrap this up.
50.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Do you have any final thoughts?
I think the last thing I want to say is you've watched Solar Opposites and I watched Solar Opposites.
Yeah, I watched it, maybe 6 or 7 episodes of it.
It's kind of meh.
Yeah, it's just kind of all right, and that's I've always my take has always been that Justin Roiland without Dan Harmon is not funny. Not just Dan Harmon, but like Justin Roiland, he needs
a foil.
He needs a writer to ground him for sure.
And just like me, solo content, you solo content,
Yeah.
Thurman solo content, we need a foil, and finding that foil is very, very important. Have you seen any of the trailers for High on Life?
Yeah, look, it's very I mean, it's like it's got the like stupid humor. Like I can giggle at it. Like, all right, well, that's fucking stupid, you know. And it like makes you kind of smirk, but nothing's like that funny as far as
right. I want to play that game on stream so bad.
I'm sure it'd be a good stream game, yeah.
Because it's so fucking stupid.
But that's the thing, right? Like Justin Roiland's humor without a Dan Harmon is literally like, "Oh, look at me, I'm Mr. Schmeeblebop, and I'm gonna go jerk off an old man." That's literally his humor without like another writer.
You need to gargle my balls, Marty.
And like, there's a place for that, but like that kind of humor works best when like subverting or like happening in contrast to serious, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why Dan Harmon's serious shit and Justin Roiland's silly shit is such a good combo. You know, you'll have like the most serious fate of the universe shit, motherfuckers are dying, and then like, oh yeah, I'm Mr. Schmeeblebop, and I'm gonna.
It looks so dumb fun, but you're right. He needs that serious foil, or he needs like some sort of person to rein him in, but that is the classic like. You brought up the old pilot that was Doc and Marty.
It's so good.
It's so fucking stupid. But you and I watched that when we were in college.
Like his stuff only works in short bursts. Like if the whole show was like that, I would have lost my mind.
Right, and that's why I lost so much faith in his other projects. But going back and watching it in retrospect, like he has the ability to create that through thread as well.
Oh yeah, I like Solar Opposites. As far as everyone that I talk to goes, and like my limited experience of it, the best part of Solar Opposites is that like wall society. That shit's fascinating.
So it's not like either one of these people can't write that style of show, but we need to rein it in and not be like full filthy humor or full like overly dark, brooding, disastrous like DC Universe shit. You know.
Yeah, and it really is true though that like you know, as much as we want to believe that you can make something that goes on forever, that's good. It's not possible.
No.
Yeah, you have to end it. And like
The Simpsons is a perfect. They are creating an episode in the new season of The Simpsons that talks about how they're able to predict the future. That's how self-referential they've become. And when it's
a snake that eats its own tail at this point.
Right. So when you're able to be that self-referential, that is when you need to fucking end a show. Because you have existed for 31, 32, 33 years at this point. I don't even know how long Simpsons have been on. It was on when my fucking parents were, you know, before I was even a twinkle in my dad's eye.
Yeah, and this is why I highly recommend a rewatch of Gravity Falls, because it is literally, like, I've never seen a more perfect example of how to do, like, a 10 out of 10 show, in and out, done, right? Because, like, Alex Hirsch, I mean, that man was fucking, he had the self-constraint of a god, because like he has confirmed on Twitter that Disney like begged and pleaded him for a season 3, because people will be like, where's season 3 of Gravity Falls, and he responds a lot of times, he'll be like, you sound like Disney.
Right, and I
And
love it.
he's talked about in his commentary on the DVD tracks. He talked about how they had a rule on Gravity Falls. They would only make episodes as long as they could have an episode where a character went through a significant character development, right?
Mhm.
So every episode, something happened that like taught them a lesson and changed them as a character. So like there'd be episodes that like taught Dipper, like there was one about toxic masculinity, and he taught him to not be like too worried about being masculine. There was one, you know, about like Dipper and Mabel like growing apart, and Mabel was terrified of it, and Dipper wanted to kind of be more solo. Every episode had something to like teach the character, and then they took that character lesson into the next one. So they developed until they couldn't develop anymore, and then he ended it because he knew if I don't now, it's just going to drag on into endlessness. And I love that. Like and it's sad to see things go when you don't want them to go, but you remember it better, right? If Rick and Morty ended at season 2, we would have been like, oh, gone too soon, but people would talk about it like it was a fucking masterpiece. But now you have horse semen episode, and you know,
Right,
yeah.
and like the last thing that I really think we need to touch on is just adding on to the Gravity Falls thing. I wonder how many boards there are, like what Alex Hirsch leaked from his standards and practices from Disney for Rick and Morty. Because when you think about all the shit that Rick and Morty's got away with, and if you look at Dan Harmon's career as a comedian, I wonder how dark he tried to go for shit like that. I hope there's one day when the show ends that he's able to put out like what Adult Swim said no to.
Oh yeah, that would be very interesting. You know, because Justin Roiland and Alex Hirsch are actually really good friends.
Mm-hmm.
You ever watch the H3H3 podcast where they're both on it?
Yeah, I watched that way back when that first aired. That's
and there's
one
like
of the few H3H3 things I watched, honestly.
there's like little hidden bill ciphers all over Rick and Morty and shit. And, it's so good. Seriously, man, you got to rewatch that shit. And like eventually, did you watch Inside Job at all?
I did. I started like the first 3 episodes, and then I never finished it.
Yeah, so he didn't make that show. He produced it, which means he just funded it because it was one of his friends that made that show. So that one, it's not as good as like an Alex Hirsch production, but it's got some pretty good stuff. I think you'd enjoy it.
Yeah, I need to finish that. I need to finish Super Crooks as well, which is another really interesting premise, but I've lost the attention span to sit down and watch a whole show in one day, and I hate that.
To me, it depends on how good the show is, because I fucked up half of Infinity Train in like 2 days.
But those are shorter episodes compared to like sitting down and watching like 8-hour long episodes. You know?
Right, it's got to be good. But yeah, anyway, you wanna end this one off here?
Yeah. With that, peace.
Peace.